Hello and welcome to this, the next in the series of our recent London trip during the Queen's funeral. We'll be visiting Windsor today. And as I said on our first video in this series, this trip had been planned well in advance. We had no idea the Queen's death would occur during this time frame. We certainly couldn't have canceled, but we decided that we'd want to go and during this historic time and see how the city was affected, the people were affected, and it was an interesting trip. But of course, because of everything that was going on, we had to change some of our plans. We had planned to go to Windsor and tour the castle, and like most people do. That won't be possible, but we are going to go to Windsor anyhow today, and this is where we're headed. We're leaving Waterloo Station. Again, we used contactless payment, our Apple Pay on our watches, and just tapped in. Easy to find the train. We're going to Windsor Eton Riverside Station, all well marked on the boards. Now, one little caveat on this particular trip using your contactless payment. Your contactless payment does not work for the entire length of this trip from Waterloo to Windsor. The very last stop, and I believe it's Datchet, don't quote me on that, but I believe the stop is Datchet, is where the contactless payment ends. And there's an announcement that's made telling people that from that point on, contactless payment's not accepted. However, the announcement was quick. We didn't really catch exactly what was being said, and rather than getting off the train in Datchet and rebuying our tickets for the remainder of the trip, we stayed on board. Turned out not to be a major problem. Evidently, it's quite a common thing. When we got to the Windsor Eton Riverside Station, the gentlemen there were quick to help us purchase the ticket for the remaining section of the ride and our return to London, and indicated that it was a very common situation with tourists. So not a big deal, but if you're going that way, you might listen for the announcement and try to do it the right way. The only thing that it amounted to was using our contactless payment and not really tapping out. We were charged for the entire length of that trip, which was not much. I think it was an additional $5 per person. So it wasn't a huge issue. But just be aware of it. The train ride is a little over an hour with multiple stops, perhaps an hour 5 or 10 minutes, something like that. And as I mentioned, we will be going to one of two stations in Windsor, train stations. We will be going to the Windsor Eton Riverside Station. And just as the name suggests, on the other side of the Thames is the town of Eton. And if you want to walk across the bridge and visit Eton and the famous college and grounds at Eton College, you certainly can do that. Now, of course, the day that we're going is the day before the Queen's interment, her actual funeral. So it will be very crowded, as you might expect. There will be barriers. Things that normally would be open will not be. Heavy police presence, just as in London. But again, knowing all this, we still wanted to visit Windsor, at least to be able to say that we did, and to be able to see the castle and the castle grounds, at least from the outside. Now, arriving here at the station, you'll notice momentarily barricades and barriers that are being set up to in anticipation of the queues, the long lines they're expecting for the next day for the funeral itself. The station itself is quite small, very easy to maneuver, very easy to get around. And walking to the castle from the station is an absolute cinch. Nothing to it. Simply walk out the station and literally follow the sidewalk around. There is a stone fence, a stone wall that you walk alongside. That is the actual perimeter of the castle itself. And as you'll notice, there are various shops and restaurants along the opposite side of the street. You see the wall there in the distance. But it's a very simple process. And again, I would expect that Windsor probably during touristy times is crowded every day. Today, again, because of the situation, it perhaps was a bit more so. But this is the sidewalk, the wall that you walk alongside the castle grounds. Or if you prefer to hit the shops along the way, cross the street and walk along the other side. There is a rather large shopping center called the Windsor Royal Station Shopping Center that we will be passing the entrance to in just a moment. We'll catch a glimpse of it. I'll try to point it out. We will go there after our brief stop at the castle. Rather imposing sight at the castle. And just as in London, many people, many citizens of the UK were coming there to bring flowers to put at the memorial at the entrance to the castle. The feeling of admiration and love that they showed for the Queen was very impressive and very evident. This is the entrance there in the background. You just briefly catch a quick view of the entrance to the Windsor Royal Station Shopping Center. We'll be there in a minute. It was actually a train station from the 1850s. Queen Victoria's replica of Queen Victoria's train, a locomotive is in there. A lot of shops. And now by this time we were tired of some of the British food we've been eating. It is rather bland. And there was McDonald's you might have seen momentarily a moment ago. And we did have quarter pounders there. But again, they're using British beef, and it's leaner than American beef, and honestly not quite as tasty in my opinion. I will say this, the best food we got while we were there, the best food that we tried, was surprisingly at Borough Market. The street food there was very, very good. Now you can see the barricades there. Normally you could walk directly down this street to the front of the castle where the tourists enter, but not today because of the situation. Now this is the interior of the Windsor Royal Station Shopping Center. Very nice, a lot of shops. We made some purchases here. Restaurants as well. A Waitrose grocery store right adjacent to it. And though the crowds may look large, they weren't bad. It wasn't terrible to get around here in the shopping center. But basically we walked through town. We got a look at the castle. We ate our lunch in front of the castle, and then crossed over and did some shopping at the shopping center here. Chose not to walk over to Eton. We had some things to do in London, so we came back. There's the replica of the locomotive. And then from this point, we simply exited the shopping center and walked along the opposite side of the street back to the train station. Really no way to get lost here if you just come into the castle. It's very, very simple. Don't be intimidated at all. Don't fear doing this on your own. Since we had already bought our return tickets, we simply walked back to the station, walked in. Train was already there boarding, no wait at all. And we simply tapped in with our tickets and took the train back to London. It was a nice day. As I say, because of the unusual situation, I'm sure that things would be different under ordinary circumstances. But it was an enjoyable trip. And we hope you enjoyed seeing this. We appreciate all our subscribers. Thanks for joining us on this video, and we're looking forward to the next one. Thanks a lot.